Welcome, everybody, to Sci-Fi Distilled. I'd like to welcome our guest, Dan, from Trek Geeks. And we are going to talk about the 1999 classic, the best Star Trek movie ever, Galaxy Quest.
Now,
I got blocked by a guy for saying that, believe it or not.
did you really? So I'm still just FYI, I still am not seeing that we're live on Facebook, just so you know that.
I have, so there you go.
What? Facebook doesn't love me.
Okay, Facebook
Okay.
doesn't love you. So, this
Wait,
has
wait,
got to
wait.
be... Oh,
Hang
what?
on before we start.
What?
Let's introduce our
I
guest
did.
of honor
I
tonight.
just, I just did.
Do
I
people
feel like
know that he's
Bill's
from
here.
the Trek Geeks?
Please,
Do they
all
know
right.
the Trek Geeks have like a million kick-ass podcasts? Do they know this information?
I have.
Wow.
Oh, there, I hear it now. I hear it on Facebook.
Yeah, that was mine.
I'm about to do that too right now. Yeah, if you guys are looking for any kind of Star Trek podcast content and you can't find it with the Trek Geeks, then you don't really want Star Trek. They
Those are-
have an amazing lineup.
Wow. Well, thanks. It's great to be here. I love Galaxy Quest, and any chance that I get to do something without Bill is always a thumbs up. So, yeah, there we go.
Full disclosure, we did invite Bill. He just couldn't make it tonight.
Thank God.
Oh,
No.
speaking of which, let me get, because we always do, since it's Sci-Fi Distilled, we have a little bit of an alcohol theme. So we have our cocktails. I don't know if Mary Beth warned you. I have a cocktail.
I always have one.
And our featured cocktail today is, of course, Grapthar's Hammer. So, 2 parts vodka, 1 part lime-infused rum, 3 parts pineapple juice, a dash of black walnut bitters. So there you go. By Grapthar's Hammer, you will be avenged. And, of course, that's on the website if you want to look it up later.
Nice.
Moving on.
So just so you guys know, for some reason it won't load the page for me, so I can't see comments.
There
I will
aren't any
keep
yet.
trying.
There are not any yet.
No one's
So,
talking to us yet.
no,
Well, all right, let's
quiet
dive
today.
in.
Yeah. So, I'm pretty sure I saw this in the theater when it came out. Can't remember quite, some of that's a little fuzzy back 20 some odd years ago. But wasn't apparently a big blockbuster hit, but obviously in cult fashion, it certainly is popular. And it really is a homage, in my opinion, and I think in a lot of people's opinion, to sci-fi, Star Trek fans specifically. It's some people look at it as making fun of Star Trek fans. I look at it as kind of an saying, how cool is it to be a Star Trek fan? Because we all know we would all love to have it be real. And if you've ever been to Ticonderoga, that's as real as it's gonna get, folks.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I was looking over some notes of the movie before we sat down, and I didn't realize it only made less than 91 million at the box office, which is not a lot even by the 90s standards. It made twice its budget, which is pretty decent. But yeah, and it's funny that you say that it's that homage. I agree with you, Mike. But I also think that back then it was still not cool to be a Star Trek fan like it is now. Now it's the
In the
coolest
90s,
thing in
yeah.
the world.
Yeah.
But back in the 90s, it was still that, William Shatner on Saturday Night Live, move out of your parents' basements type.
Right. Right.
But oh yeah, it's a fantastic sci-fi movie directed specifically at Star Trek fans. I totally agree.
Yep. And it was interesting. If there is we should definitely mention the documentary that came out recently called Never Surrender. It is on Amazon Prime for you guys that want to watch it. Highly recommend it if you are a Galaxy Quest fan. It talks about a lot of the stuff that was going on in the build-up. Harold Ramis was originally the original director. He pretty much left when they wanted to cast Tim Allen.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, he didn't want Tim Allen, and of course you look at it now and you think, how could anybody else but Tim Allen play, the captain? But I looked over some of the other names. Kevin Kline, I think would have worked. I think he could have pulled it off. Would have been as good a movie. Again, this is kind of almost like one of those lightning in a bottle films where you have a great cast, a great story, and they all just...
A number of names that were considered, and I can kind of rattle them off here. Kevin Kline was like their first pick.
Yeah.
But then they were thinking maybe Bruce Willis, Tim Robbins, Mel Gibson, Alec Baldwin, Steve Martin, Bill Murray, and Robin Williams. and they all said no. And Tim Allen was the only one who actively lobbied for the part.
Yeah, and Tim Allen was going to do Bicentennial Man at the same time, which ended up going to Robin Williams. And I think that was a good, because I think Robin was really good in that film. So I think that was probably worked out for the best for both of them.
It's funny that you mention all those names. As you're going through the list, I'm like, nope, no way. Tim Robbins, nope.
Yep.
So yeah, they really get the right guy.
And they're all great actors in their
They
own
are.
right. You can't say,
Yeah.
you know, like
They
I love
are.
Steve Martin, but I could never see him doing that role.
Yeah,
It just
no,
wouldn't have worked.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And you know, the one that funny I thought was funny, kind of not out of place, but like because Sigourney Weaver obviously has done plenty of sci-fi, but she seemed like, you know, the ditzy blonde. I never see her as that character,
It
and
was
that
a
and then she
counter-
pulled it off. Yeah, it was kind of a weird crossover
Counter
kind of for
type,
her.
yeah.
Yeah,
She
because
had just
she's always
done
played
Ripley.
Ripley, you know, this
Yeah.
kind of very tough, you know, woman and a strong woman character, and now you got this woman that's going, you know, why are these things here? The chopper.
It might be the young 20s male in me. This is my favorite role of hers.
Really?
I like this role that she does in this better than Ripley. As much as I love Ripley in the original Alien, this one, because she takes all of those preconceived notions that people had about the type of person she played in the movie, and she just eats it up and spits it back out at you. And I really thought she pulled it off great.
Yeah,
And
the
she
best
was-
line,
yeah.
you know, she has is, "I have one job. It's stupid. I'm gonna do it."
Yep.
But she ended up, like, if there's a trio, like if there is the Kirk, Spock, McCoy like counterparts, it would probably be the Nesmith, Alexander Dane, what was her name, Gwen DeMarco.
Yep.
And she was kind of the heart of the group. She actually ended up being the sensible one in a lot of moments. So
Right.
yeah, it worked for her. It was a great role.
And I'm sure we're going to get into it more, but for me, as great as the entire cast was, nobody can hold a candle to what Alan Rickman did in this movie.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
agree. Completely agree.
It is.
Another-
I mean, it still hurts to watch this movie now, knowing that he's passed away. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched it. It's funny. Before I watched this about a week before I got your email, Mary Beth, about this. So it was fresh in my mind, and I'm watching it, and I'm going, man, it's really just, it's too bad. So many people have passed on recently that we've grown up to love so much, and he totally killed this role.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And actually, his death kind of put the final nail in the series coffin, because was it Amazon, or I think was going to do it, or Netflix? They had a lot of things lined up. They had scripts, they had shooting schedules,
Wow.
and then Alan died. He was sick, of course, and that pretty much, they were like, they couldn't figure out how are they going to do this without him. Like they couldn't. So it just, and
Yeah,
probably
there's
for the
no
best,
recasting
because
him.
without him, yeah. I mean, you need Dr. Lazarus.
Right.
So Bruce, just so you guys know, Bruce Playfair is just sending me a message that says the video has ended. So Facebook may be not cooperating with us this evening.
I'm still watching it, and it's
Oh,
live.
hi,
There's two
Callie.
people watching it. Yeah.
Hi, doggies.
Puppy, hi.
I thought I shut my door, but I didn't.
No, we welcome visitors and
Stu,
guests.
thanks for joining. Steve Pelock just joined, so somebody's watching it.
That's
Okay,
good.
let me see. Let me tell him that.
So,
But yeah, but just
Eleanor
back
Rule.
on Alan. This movie says a lot. This movie does a lot. I said in my teaser that it's a love letter to Star Trek, and it's a love letter to the fans.
Mhm.
But there's also a little message in there to the makers and actors of Star Trek, and of all the people who could deliver that message, it was Alan Rickman, and he does. And we can kind of dive into that.
Yeah.
About what it says about people who make stuff like Star Trek. Yeah, it's okay. I told Bruce we're on, so hopefully he's gonna tune in. But his hope he finds it. Alan's moment and what Alan is telling the actors of Star Trek comes in, spoiler, I hope everyone has seen it, when Quellic dies.
Mhm.
And he says for the first Bruce, stop talking to me. And he says to Quellic as he lays dying, for the first time, he says it and he means it. He says the words, "By Grabthar's hammer, by the sons of Worven, you shall be avenged." And in that moment, he completely understands what it means to the fans.
Right.
And so this movie telling the people who make Star Trek, do you understand what this means to us? Do you understand how this inspires us? And who else could do it? Alan Rickman.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'm kind of curious. This is going to be a little bit of a tangent. Based on that and what we're used to, some of the stories that we've heard in the day about some of the Star Trek cast and how they treated fans at conventions. That's one of the things that I really appreciate about the new Star Trek shows and the casts that are in the new shows. People like Doug Jones and Sonequa Martin Green and Anthony Rapp and so many others. They know what this means to us, and it means just as much to them to be able to bring us these stories. And that's one of the things I don't think was as relevant back in the early days. I think it started picking up with TNG and DS9 and Voyager, but it really has taken off in this new wave of Star Trek.
And I would also add, Bruce is still talking to me. Stop talking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm getting messages too. Apparently, it's locked.
It's locked. Some people can't see the video for some reason.
I don't know why that is. It's never done.
Yeah, I would also add to that was the advent of social media, because these actors and creators are so generously available on social. You can tweet them and they answer. Like when I was a little kid growing up watching any TV show, I couldn't talk to the star and have them answer. I couldn't just say, hey, Linda Carter, I love Wonder Woman. I mean, I could maybe write a letter and figure out where to send it in California all the way from Massachusetts, but would she get it? I don't know. Yeah. Nowadays, everyone, you just tweet them, hey, love it. And they're like, thanks. And you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's an amazing feeling to get a response back from one of these people that have become heroes to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we just talked about Alan and his passing in the Galaxy the show. And it's funny that you said that. I didn't know that they were planning on doing a stream series.
It had been in the works for a while. They'd rumbled about it, and the fans were, everybody was like, yes, please, that'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then Alan, of course, passed. It was 2016 he died, I think, something like that. Yes. And so they had a lot in place for that show. Scripts and, like I said, shooting schedules that far along, and of course he passed, and they just couldn't figure out how to do it without him.
No, there is no doing it without him. And as I was saying, he was the heart. I think he was the heart, and his little moment with Quellic was kind of the heart of the. Another way that idea is put across, that how much do you mean to us, is through Justin Long's character. He's got the fireworks. Well, the protector's coming back in. It's going to get superheated, so we're going to go out and we're using fireworks for visual confirmation. Okay, well, dinner's at 7.
Right. Exactly. The typical mom.
Absolutely.
But the fan gets to be the hero, and that's saying that's a huge "I love you" to the fans, and that meant everything. That just meant so much.
Do you think that it's at all possible, when you say the love letter to the fans, do you think it's possible that the creators of Discovery purposely made Takuvma look exactly like one of the people in the audience at the beginning of the convention? Have you ever noticed that?
I never noticed that.
I have not, and now I have to go back and look.
When they first start, when they're waiting for Jason to come out on stage, and they're panning through the audience, there's one person and he's standing there. He's got the gold Klingon outfit. His face is the Discovery look of the Klingons in season 1. It's uncanny how much he looks like Takuvma. Yeah, I'll see if I can find a picture of it. I probably won't be able to real quick.
By the way, the woman that played Brandon's mom was George Costanza's girlfriend that died.
Oh, was it? The envelope licker?
Yeah, Susan. Yeah, it was. I just want to throw that out there because there's a ton of people in this movie that were in other stuff.
So every week we do All Roads Lead to Star Trek. There's only two big roads.
Roads just circle around it constantly.
The roads circle around. Yeah, the thematic roads are there. There are tons of crew, lots of crew. But of the performers, Rainn Wilson, obviously.
Right.
Because his turn at Mud. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
that's
great.
my favorite episode.
I want to see him again.
Yeah. And then the other performer was actually Robin Sachs, our main villain, and he played a ton of stuff on Babylon 5, actually, Rizzo, but he played on Voyager. He played I don't know. He plays some general on a Voyager episode called The Void. And those are our two major actor roads leading to Star Trek, but there were a million other crew background background performers, there's a lot of roads that lead to Star Trek.
If I remember correctly, The Void is season 5's premiere episode.
Is it really?
I think I'm double checking that right now, but
Robin,
I'm pretty sure
and
that's
Robin
what it
Sachs
is.
is another one who unfortunately is no longer with us. He was another amazing performer who was in everything. Yeah.
It really is amazing. It's like Star Trek is like the Kevin Bacon of television these days.
It is.
There's so many shows that I'll be watching or movies. I'm like, oh, been a Star Trek. Oh, been a Star Trek.
Yep.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. The Night was the season 5 premiere. So
it's with Star Trek became, especially with Next Gen and beyond, because there were so many fans of the original show that are now, and they became famous actors. They all wanted to be a role. There was like, who was it? Is it Mick Fleetwood? Is actually on as an alien in complete costume, because he's just like some weird squid looking dude, and it's like weird. He just wanted to be in a Star Trek episode.
Yeah, I want to be in a Star Trek episode.
Yeah,
I want to be in a Star Trek episode.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Who wouldn't?
We all do.
So,
Galaxy Quest, our happy little love letter. A few little we were talking about the cast. One road leading to Space 1999, and I'm doing this just for you, Roy. Patrick Breen, who played Quellic. He's very recognizable. He's got gorgeous, big, huge, enormous blue eyes. He's the one who decided that the Thermians would walk like knees, like same arm and leg. And he got the idea from Fireball XL5, which is the immediate predecessor. It's a Jerry Anderson puppet show. It's an immediate predecessor to Thunderbirds. Like most of us in America know Thunderbirds are go, but like in the 60s, it was just Thunderbirds. And so he'd been watching the puppets and he decided, okay, that's how we're gonna walk, like that. And so he did that. Let's see, Justin Long and Missy Pyle were both reunited later in Dodgeball, one of our favorite comedies. Oh. And of course, our main Mathazar, our main bad guy, Enrico Colatoni.
He's the one that came up with the way they talk.
They spoke,
I can't even do it.
He said it was a vocal exercise.
Yeah, he said he came up with it, and they were like, they loved it. So,
that's cool.
That was how that worked out. But
exactly.
So, let me ask you this, because as I was thinking of different things to talk about.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to have their favorite scenes. What is your all-time favorite scene in the movie? Why?
Wow, that's a tough one.
I have one job. It's stupid, but I'm going to do it because I personally say that a lot. I say that a lot.
The scene with the chompers is hysterical because that was so science fiction shows of the 60s and 70s.
That's from Event Horizon.
What the
he got the idea yes, because in Event Horizon there's spinning blades or something in the ship, and they were like, why are they there? Like, why would you put this there?
Yeah.
But I think one of my favorites was when there's Tony Shalhoub is working the transporter, and he transports the rock guy. And he goes, oh, he's like, this is going to be good. Like, and he transports the rock into the room, and they're watching him all this. Yeah. And he's just sitting there kind of giggling. Because you always wonder in Star Trek, why don't they do more stuff like
that? Because we don't kill.
With the transporter, like, why don't they have transporter bombs where they just, like, transport a bomb inside a ship and boom,
Because we're so compassionate and ethical.
Can't get it through the shields.
I like the scene. I like Sam Rockwell. Is there air? You don't know.
I mean, there's just so many. Yeah, that whole scene on the planet. When he goes, I think those must be the miners. Well, yeah, they're all little kids, not miners.
Miners.
It's funny when you started talking, Riz, about the scene with Fred beaming the rock monster. Yeah. I thought you were going to go where I was going to go, which is when he beams the pig monster up.
Pig, oh yeah,
and then it explodes, and he's like,
yeah.
and the pig, and he's flapping his hand around like the guts of the pig monster. Yeah. That's my favorite moment of that movie. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm really good.
It's Inside Out, and it exploded, and it exploded.
You know the little nod there that no one that I may be inventing. I might be about to lie to all of you, but one time I think James Doohan said it was more of an art. He's like, and I would finagle it like this, and he would always try to hide his missing fingers, and he would work. And I think he said it's an art, and that line is in there. He's like, oh, they modeled it after it's more of an art than a science.
Yeah.
I think that's a Doohan nod. but I don't know. I don't know that for a
It might
fact.
be.
Cool.
The other thing on the planet I thought was one of the funniest because it was very quick is when Curly, we need to get out of here before somebody kills Guy. You know,
Yeah.
like because we knew that they were going to die, but the guy that had no name,
It's always the
you know, crewman number 4 was going to die.
That's the funny thing about these tropes. Like they were in on the joke. Like they knew from performing in the show, and so it made it not just like stupid gags for the sake of stupid gags. It made it work. And a really good example of that is Tommy driving the ship pulling out of space dock, because you see Sulu do it in the motion picture, right? And he just it goes perfect. But Tommy doesn't actually know how to pilot. He doesn't know how to drive the ship.
I'm really glad you brought that up, because one of the things I was going to say is, there any scenes that drive you crazy in this movie? That scene drives me crazy, and here's why.
I know what you're going to say, but go
ahead.
It's not because he's not steering it correctly, but he's drifting, and the nose of the protector starts scraping. But then when it comes out, the nose is way inside, but the wings way out there. I'm sorry, that's just the
there is a spatial.
Yes, that might take you out of it.
If you look at the ship,
yes,
there
I
you go.
see the ship.
This is where he was scraping. This should have been scraping.
Right.
I guess I always thought it was
that did bug me, but you know, it's hey.
It's still awesome.
If you're really gonna nitpick, we could say the Thermians could clearly read English. What did they think the credits were? Like they were seeing the credits. They were seing the words Jason Nesmith as Peter Quincy Taggart.
Certainly, you don't think Gilligan's Island is real.
Yeah, you don't.
Oh, those poor people.
Yeah, like what if they? So if you really want to nitpick, but don't.
Yeah, you can't nitpick.
I don't
love it.
Yeah,
just love it with your heart.
Yeah, I do love it. But and it's become more of a humorous nitpick with that scene, because it's just like, wow, those wings must retract, and they never told us.
They go back and they come back.
Yep.
So here's a quiz for our viewers, and I just want to thank. There's a lot of people that now have joined. Thank you.
Yes,
people,
thank
for
you
sticking
all
with
so
us.
much for hanging with us.
What was the actual call numbers for the NSEA
Protector? What was its number?
What were the numbers? You know, like the Enterprise at NCC 1701. What was the? See if anybody. Don't Google.
No, Google.
Don't Google. Go ahead and start typing. I know there's a little delay, so we'll wait for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
so we'll let you, but we'll keep talking.
Did you guys notice, and did you enjoy? So let's talk about the effects. Since we're talking about the ship and the effects. The effects hold up. The effects are brilliant. Here we are 21 years later, and they're still gorgeous.
Yep.
But did you guys notice that this show very cleverly starts in 4:3?
And then it's
the old show, right?
Yeah.
Then it opens up to what, 135 or something?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, like
but then when he gets shot out, when they send him home, it opens up to like 2:8 or something. Yep. I don't know. It opens, and that's like symbolic of his eyes being opened. Was that not genius? Like, I thought that was clever.
It's clever. It's genius, and it's also one of the best special effects parts of the whole movie. When he's going through like the wormhole or whatever he's shooting through, that holds up really, really well even today.
It does.
Yep.
Even the battles, even the mines and all that stuff hold up.
I gotta say though, that the alien ship is just goofy looking, isn't it?
The one alien ship doesn't look like the Doomsday
It's supposed
machine.
to be kind of organic,
like
I think.
Yeah,
it's kind of an organic feel to it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crab.
I mean, it kind of reminded me of something out of
crab.
like Battle of the Planets. Or was it the one with John Boy there? That Battle Beyond the Stars, kind of weird. I don't know why it reminded me of that kind of weird, just strange design.
Casey Shafsky. Hi, Casey.
Oh
welcome.
God, Casey's on. Hey, Casey.
Casey's the first person that I'm noticing. I should scroll back a little. But the first person that I'm seeing who knows it's NTE 3120, and right behind her, Marina. Yeah. Marina Kavchuk says NTE stands for not the Enterprise.
Yep. Well, see, okay, so I think we should give it to Marina, just so A, we don't give anything to Casey like credit, and B, because it's Casey, my co-host on Discovering Trek, and I don't need to see him here anyway.
Okay. Casey, you're always welcome.
We're always
he is.
We don't turn anybody away because we don't have enough viewers to turn anybody away.
I kid. Casey is one of our favorite people in the whole world, and I'm glad he's here, and he's been fantastic on Discovering Trek. So good to see you, pal.
Yeah.
Martin is quoting the red thingy heading towards the green thing.
Yeah, it's a red thing heading
Side
towards.
note, Casey, Dan says you stink. So okay.
Yeah. Well, That's Casey.
Yeah, we really should talk about, you know,
Sam Rockwell? No.
and Sam Rockwell, Guys. I guess Fleegman is
Guy
what it's
Fleegman.
listed. Which
Total
they never. I don't
nod.
think they ever said his last name actually in the film because it was just because you have my last name.
See
Do
it
I?
when they redo the reboot. Yeah. Do I?
But he was
a nod to Guy Vardaman or one of the background players on Next Gen.
He was just so perfect in this film because it's like he's like because we all been to a few of the conventions and we know a few of the kind of the actors that were in one episode and they're kind of still trying to hang on because they had no other career. Yep. And he kind of embodies them all, and no disrespect to any of them, but he's kind of like he's like, hey, I'm doing the conventions and I'm and then he ends up I'm gonna go on this thing and then he's realizing that I'm the red shirt.
I'm the red shirt. I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die.
Sam's awesome. So that year, Sam at the same time, Sam had this and The Green Mile.
That's right.
Where he plays like complete.
He is
opposite.
So good in The Green Mile. I love his character in that movie.
Yeah.
Wait, did he actually win the Oscar for The Green Mile?
No, I don't think so.
No, I don't believe so. He also played Zaphod Beeblebrox on the film version of Hitchhikers, which we did last time.
We did last time.
He does
Not
have
the
the
film,
best
but we did
scream in the entire movie Galaxy Quest. That's for sure.
Yes.
When they first arrive. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And then of course, the other, and then Tony Shalhoub's character, he's just like, well, that was a hell of a thing.
The stoner. Oh, so that. What is that? What is that about? Is that a nod to Ricardo Montalban as a Spanish person playing an Indian?
Well, good question. That's a good question.
No, I'm wrong. Okay, it's okay. I'm wrong. Because Tony Shalhoub's character Fred Kwan is not Asian, and he knows he's not Asian. Everyone knows he's not Asian, but he would just squint like when they check Sergeant Chen, and he'd squint to look Asian. Is that like a nod to just Hollywood in general?
Boy, you're really pulling that out of there because I didn't really catch any of that. That
deep.
He was trying to play Asian. I didn't.
I
don't know why it didn't. It didn't. I don't know. Anybody else?
Okay, everyone start typing. Start typing. Is Mary Beth off her rocker? Which could be true.
Mary Beth. I always thought he was kind of like more of a child of the '60s, where he always seemed like he was a little stoned.
Yes,
that to me is more like why he was squinting.
He always had
he was a little burned out. That's kind of but he's a great actor in his own right.
I've been watching like reviews and 10 things you didn't know about Galaxy Quest, and every single one of them says Tony Shalhoub was playing a non-Asian playing an Asian, which is not, and they kept saying, and it was a nod to David Carradine.
Really?
And I thought, no,
wow,
it's
I didn't
clearly
know.
a nod to Ricardo Montalban because
don't you learn something new every time we have a show? I was today years old when I had that never occurred to me that he was trying to play an Asian.
No,
that is funny.
Because he'd squint. He was always
but it was just kind of him going, I don't know. I didn't see that
but it was 1999, so now I'm like, okay, is that racist?
Is that racist?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably is, but so did when Robert Downey Jr. played a white guy playing a black guy,
which was gold.
Which was hysterical.
But
I mean, it was but now I don't know. Probably very bad taste.
So what else? This started because I was talking about special effects. Makeup, good makeup. That was Stan Winston doing all that makeup.
Yep.
Yeah, I also loved, speaking of that, as when Dr. Lazarus gets in the fight, you can see his prosthetic is, the hair starting to come out of it. It's all ripped and stuff like that. And nobody ever noticed it. No, he never took it off.
Yeah, the scene he's home, in his home apartment, talking with Glenn on the phone. Still in full.
He never takes it off. But it was just funny because you could try to see, because you'd suspect if he's really fighting people, this thing is not meant for that, and it would just kind of tear. And
because like the hero.
Again, a little attention to detail because they could have just left it, to me, they could have left it on, but if they had added to the comedy, But,
So tiny little side note, they Winston, they were getting ready to do the Planet of the Apes reboot, which was in 2000 or 2001, right? It was like right after Galaxy Quest.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted the monkey muzzles to articulate. They wanted the actors' faces to be able to articulate the prosthetic. So they had to invent a whole new way to do that, and they actually used it on Saris, on Robin Sachs, to see if it would work. And apparently did because he looks pretty menacing.
Yeah, he does.
Is his eye patch a nod to not JG, the other guy with the patch?
Chang?
Sorry. Yeah, Chang. Is the patch a nod to Chang?
My browser just crashed, so I can't pull up a picture right now. But was it bolted onto him, or was it a regular patch? Because if it was bolted, it's definitely
it had stuff. Like it was busy.
Okay.
There was things.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's what makes some of these movies so great is all the little nods they throw in, tiny details.
There,
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
there's my browser. It's all back now.
Hello, browser. General Chang, yeah. I think it could have, yeah. And again, I never, it's funny that people dissect these things so much, and I just watch the movie and enjoy it, and I don't really, I pick up the little things, certainly all the obvious things, but like little things like, I don't think I ever would have put the fact that he had an eye patch with General Chang from.
Oh yeah, he's got all kinds of bolts on that thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just
was Chang.
Again, I never put that together. I mean, I know the whole thing was a nod to Star Trek, clearly, but I didn't realize they got.
It's just like a million. But you know what it's like, Rizzo? It's like when Mike and Denise said in what that movie when they're taking off with Zephyr Cochrane and Frakes and whoever else are in the
First
ship
Contact.
with them. And they said, look right behind. There's all those oscillation overthrusters.
Yeah, they put the overthrusters
bolted on the wall from Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah.
Because everyone like on set was a Buckaroo Banzai fan, so they stuck all these oscillations. So now every time I see that scene, I'm just looking at. Like,
you're looking at count. He just Mike even if you watch our episode of the Buckaroo Banzai, Mike said he stuck them wherever over the place.
He was sticking them anywhere he could.
Yeah, they're all over Star Trek.
So it's that kind of thing, and there's a bunch of little things in this movie too. I've got a list. I'm not gonna rattle them off because it gets kind of boring. And there's actually some nods to other stuff too, besides they're from the Klaatu Nebula. That's from the Day the Earth
right.
Stood
Day
Still.
the Earth Stood Still. Yeah. Yeah, there's it's not, and it is it is basically Star Trek, but I mean there is a lot of other science fiction stuff in there and cliches and. Like we said the ship and the chompers and, all the ridiculous things that, I believe there was even a scene where they had to go over a chasm or something like that in that when they're trying to get to that, and the funny thing was, they pushed the button to stop the explosion and it keeps going until it gets to one because on every episode where you had to stop something from exploding, it always stopped on one.
That was like
regardless of what happened, even though they stopped it 10 seconds early, it's still going until it gets to one. That was just shows you that these Thermians were just very detail oriented. For some reason, they felt that was necessary.
But here's a question I have for you both. Do you think that it's possible that Star Trek after Galaxy Quest came out has taken parts of that movie and thrown it into their franchise? Because the one thing that always points out to me is, of course, the Protector has the Omega-13. And in Voyager, there's an episode called the Omega Directive about the Omega molecule and how destructive that is. And I've always wondered if it was named after the Omega-13 from Galaxy Quest.
That's a fantastic
That would
question.
be a good Okuda's question.
That would be a great Okuda's question.
They would probably know that.
And they'd probably know every single.
I know they are definitely fans of this film, of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Denise has said it's her favorite Star Trek movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's what cracks me up. I mean, there you have two people that worked on probably more Star Trek than most, and they think that that's the best Star Trek film.
Yeah, Dan, that's a fantastic question. I think the answer is yes. I can't point to anything, but I suspect the answer is yes. Mm-hmm. And honestly, even if there are no things like oscillation overthrusters or whatever, I think they took the message to heart.
Yeah.
And said, you know what, this isn't just some TV show. It's not just a paid gig, some TV show.
One could argue that movie is what kickstarted the popularity of being a Star Trek fan. Now it's cool to be a Star Trek fan. And I wonder if the success of that film kind of brought out, shine the light on us nerds and said, look, we're actually, this is pretty cool stuff. And, and I think a lot of us got older and we're just not ashamed of, I don't care. Who knows? I'm a Star Trek fan. I don't care.
That's a great point. And it harkens back to what Dan was saying right at the very beginning of the show, the first half of our show before our glitch, that it was in the early 90s era where maybe being a geek or being a nerd wasn't all that awesome. And it was the era where Bill Shatner actually said, "Get a life, people."
on Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, and so
Move
then
out of your
everything
parents'
changed.
basement. Go kiss
And
a
then
girl.
slowly, like things like San Diego Comic-Con became, San Diego Comic-Con's huge. All the Comic-Cons are, blowing up all over the country. We even have, our tiny little Trek Condoroga people come from all over.
Yeah.
I think
it made it okay to come out of the closet, not to use that term, in a funny way, but in a way to say that, it's okay to like this stuff. It's not something to be ashamed of.
Yeah, and it means something positive.
Yeah, and it is. And I guess they held true to that in the film, that these guys were still the good guys in the end, and even though they were just actors, but they were trying to do the right thing. And so there was still kind of that Starfleet kind of attitude in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe one could argue that, now, although I think Lower Decks is probably more after the Rick and Morty crowd than it is out of this, but as far as being humorous and kind of poking fun at itself,
I will
one
say
could probably
that
say that this
Orville. Yeah, I will say I think
the Orville, but I think what they were going with the craziness of it. I think with the kind of the wackiness of it, I see a little. Yeah, definitely Orville, but in that show I see some Rick and Morty kind of parallels. Not quite as crazy as Rick and Morty.
Yeah, not as crazy as Rick and Morty. For Lower Decks, for me, it's just a giant Easter egg hunt because they drop.
Well, that's true.
So
it's not a hunt. Everything is just laid out for
30 minutes, and they're like dropping
bomb. Yeah, it's constant. It's constant. It's constant. But anyway, we're not talking about that show.
It's funny. I've never watched more than 35 seconds of the Orville. I have no idea how it is. I've never seen it.
Doug Drexler was on Orville.
It's amazing. Doug Drexler does work on it now. He started with the second or third season.
Yeah.
And, it's Seth MacFarlane's a huge Star Trek fan.
Right.
So,
and I love
and
what
this
he does.
is definitely a love letter to TNG.
Yeah.
With
absolutely.
his kind of, it's not I thought it was going to be more Family Guy in space. It's way, way, way pulled back. It's still funny. It's silly at times, but it's more TNG than it is Family Guy.
Now, where Galaxy Quest got meta and then took that extra, widened back to look at the fandom, Orville obviously does not do that. Orville's a straight sci-fi show. This is the ship. This is the people.
Right.
This is
There's no fourth wall.
But it is absolutely in the same vein of we're going to use humor. We're going to kind of poke fun at some of this, but we love it. Let's do it this way. And then they're doing it they're,
Once you get past the fact that it's not supposed to be a constant riot of jokes and you kind of take it as it is, it's better. The first few episodes, I was like, I thought this was going to be funnier.
Oh, okay.
No, and then you realize, oh my god, this.
But then I realized it's not, and then the second season's even is more serious than the first. You know what I'm saying?
I have heard that. Yep, I have heard that.
So I don't know.
They try for social commentary, they've done a few things.
So he's definitely kind of recreating TNG light. Look at it that way.
And he's brought a lot of Star Trek people into the show.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So. But that's for another show.
Save it for another show. But
we'll definitely get Drexler to come back and do
cool.
And maybe just do some Orville because it's worth
we could just do the Orville. So why not?
All right, let me check my notes. We're kind of all over the place tonight, but that's okay. That's kind of how we roll here.
While you're looking at your notes, one thing I'm going to bring up, and this isn't, I don't want to call this a gripe, but it's something that I understand had to be done. The edit of the F-bomb that Sigourney's character drops, because they had to edit her F-bomb out to make it PG-13.
Get the PG,
Is wow. I mean, I think I could have done a better job in Audacity to dub that better. That's something.
No, they never filmed. Like, wow. Usually they film multiple takes of her saying one word and her saying the other word. They never. They just filmed it once.
Yeah.
But there was a lot more profanity in the movie, and they had to take it all out.
I think they left it in there on purpose so that we know what she said. But they didn't actually say it. You know what I'm saying? I think it was. I think they'll do that. They won't bleep it out, but they'll blank it out. But you know what she said.
I bet you nowadays that would get in a PG-13. That would get in a probably.
Yeah, I don't know. It might get a PG-13 if she actually said it. But that's
Tommy has almost the exact same thing early on in the command deck. Tommy Laredo says something very similar, and they edit it, but you can still see. I think he on set said shit, but then they changed it but you can still say that he's saying shit. So there's that.
Now, just shifting gears a little bit, something you just recently saw, wasn't there something about the Thermians and the design that they were kind of octopus like wasn't there something about, I can't remember now. There's something
Yeah,
in the documentary of how that came to be.
Yeah, Spielberg came along and said, no, make them more humanoid. And they were like, no, we're going to stay with the octopi.
Yeah.
Okay, Space 1999, which I haven't watched in decades, but I remember loving it as a show. There's one episode where there's some octopusy looking creature that
that's
people get slid
the
under,
dragon,
and that's what that reminds me
Roy,
of.
help us out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Roy, no,
Yeah,
Roy will know what episode.
it's I know the
kind of
episode.
funny?
It was one of their scariest,
Terrified me as a kid.
episodes.
Oh, Space 19 was
where
scary.
Dragon's Domain or something like that. It's called. Roy,
Yeah.
help me out. And
you know what's weird about the octopus is for a hot second about a year ago, it was going around that they were like, and this isn't true, but it was going around. They're like, octopuses aren't from Earth. They're like got different DNA. They're aliens. They're from somewhere else, which turns out to be not true. They are from Earth. They have the same DNA and like the same genetic makeup as the rest of us. But like, and so if I remember thinking of Galaxy
Dragon's
Quest and being
Domain.
like, oh,
That is the episode.
the octopus.
Thank you.
Just
to
go back to something we were talking about earlier, I'm looking on an Easter egg page right now as we're talking, and one of the Easter eggs specifically says that Ceres's eye patch was a nod to General Chang from Star Trek 6.
Wow, there you go.
How about that?
Boom.
Wow. Yep.
Mic drop.
Boom. All right, I'm out of
here. And not Martok, General Chang.
Yeah.
We have lots of Klingons with eye patches. Get them straight.
That's right. That's interesting. That's the thing that I like is one of to tie it all back to Star Trek again. One of the things I like about the new Star Trek is all the nods that they have, the subtle ones and the not so subtle ones. And I think Galaxy Quest does a fantastic job of doing that in its own right to not only Star Trek, but the other genres and franchises that have always been popular as we have been growing up.
I completely agree. I completely agree.
So they're arguing the episode whether it was Dragon's Domain or Bringers of Wonder. I think you could call either, because Bringers of Wonder did have kind of a Sigmund the Sea Monster, if you remember that kid show.
Oh my God, yeah.
It was kind of those. They're kind of like these big blobs with an eyeball in it. It was kind of that sort of look. So you could go either way. You guys, I think you're both right. It could be Bringers of Wonder or Dragon's Domain. I'm going with Dragon's Domain. That was the one.
I remember, and like I said, it's been probably 35 years since I've watched it. There was like these legs hanging down, and there was like light behind it, and
that's Dragon's Domain.
Caught under it.
That's Dragon's Domain. Yeah, that's Dragon's Domain. Scary. It was the most scary episode they ever had. And I think it pretty much frightened the crap out of me when I was a little kid. And
now I have to watch it.
I was only about 7 when that maybe 10 at the most when that kid was on.
What'd you say, Amby?
Space 1999 and old Doctor Who were scary, scary shows back.
No, I never found Doctor Who scary.
I did. There was one with a hand.
The Daleks would. Oh, what? That was the Hand of Fear. No, that one didn't bother me. Daleks when they scream
I'm 5 years younger than you. So.
Exterminate! Come on, that was
excellent. That was very good impersonation there, Riz.
Yeah. Actually, I think the scariest thing right now in Doctor Who is the Weeping Angels. And I don't care what you say.
Oh,
those freaks.
Totally agree.
I don't watch a lot of Doctor Who now, but my nephew got me into reading about and watching some of the Weeping Angel stuff, and that is some freaky.
It is. It is very
good stuff.
It is some of the. That's what I always. They had some good writers that came up with some good, good enemies for him to fight, and that was certainly one of the most disturbing.
I actually got my nephew a Weeping Angel model from Eagle Moss for Christmas last year, so now he can always stare at it and not be.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want that in my house.
Oh,
I can see it as is it a Christmas tree topper? I could just see it up there, like this,
Yeah, like doing that.
Scare the crap out of your kids. Yeah, what happens if you're bad?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes and I'm about to. Okay, shifting gears. Slam in the clutch and shift. Here we go. All right. When you first heard the opening theme to Lower Decks, those first subtle trumpet bars.
Yes.
Did you think of Galaxy Quest?
Absolutely.
I did too. Did anybody else? Everybody
it does have a very similar sound to it.
Everyone now they're two different guys. I know who they are. David Newman did Galaxy Quest, and Chris, what's Chris's last name? Who did? Yeah, okay. Chris, somebody whose last name I don't know, did Lower Decks, but the music's not, and as I'm listening to the songs, they're actually nothing alike, but those first opening bars totally thought of Galaxy Quest. I wonder if that's on purpose or just a happy accident.
Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if it was on purpose, because I agree. I think people that are making Star Trek are looking back to Galaxy Quest, and certainly not, they're not maybe using it as a template, but they're using it as an anchor in the fandom. You know, that this was very important to the fandom of Star Trek. So if we can stick things in there that kind of lead you back to it, I think they would do it.
Possibly.
My opinion.
Back to the octopi. In the original series, by any other name, the Kelvins, we see them in humanoid form, but they are described as being like having like hundreds of tentacles, like an octopus.
Multi-legged, immense multi-legged beigings. I think that's how Spock described it. I always kind of pictured them more as centipede-like than
I always
multi-legged. I think multi-legs. I think of like a centipede, not an octopus. Because he didn't say tentacles. What's that?
Chris Westlake is
Chris
the
Westlake. Thank you. Yes, that is who it is. David Newman did Galaxy. Chris Westlake did Lower Decks.
Well, it's not uncommon for
heroic
people
trumpet fanfare
to take things from other. I mean, there's only so many notes you can put. I mean, you look at who's the greatest composer there of movies there?
John Williams.
John Williams. Thank you. I'm having a terrible blank out.
Ross Amico's gonna be mad at you.
I know, right? I love John Williams. Don't get me wrong. I just blanked on his name for a second. But I have friends that work composers for television and were just heavily into music, in their careers. And they said you can go back to many classical pieces throughout time and find out where John Williams pulled a lot of the stuff that he did. He was influenced quite a bit by these famous composers. So not taking anything away from John Williams, because he still was able to put it together in a way that was incredible. But even he sort of took kind of like Spielberg uses a lot of Hitchcock moves, in his film, that kind of thing. So.
Did we ever get a name for the minor creatures in Galaxy Quest?
No, I don't think. I think they just ever referred to them as the miners.
The miners.
Or
the
not
blue...
miners. Miners.
I just like...
Oh, look at the little ones hurt.
They're
going to get ugly somehow. And, Guy had it. The funny thing is, Guy had it figured out in the beginning. No, they're going to get scary somehow. Sure enough, he was right.
That's not the only movie. Like, that's a nod to several movies. Like, that trope's been done, where there's a cute creature, but then it turns.
Yep.
Oh, sure, the bunny from Holy Grail.
That wasn't what I was thinking, but okay, sure, the bunny from Holy Grail. Tis but a flesh wound.
Exactly. So yeah, you got to go there. But yeah, you're right. There was a ton of tropes in it. I mean, that was the whole movie.
That was the whole.
I love when they start coming out. Well, we'll do this from episode. Wait a minute, was I in that episode? I don't remember the episode.
I can't believe they remember episode 35. How do they remember?
Because that's again a nod to the nerds that would remember. Like, the kids knew every single. Right. How many of us can I can see literally 10 seconds of any TOS episode and tell you what it is.
Yeah. Yep. But what they actually do, whatever episode it was, what they actually do is pretend to fight. Kirk and Spock did that at least 3 times, and and they did it in the movies. Like, they had secret communication in the movies too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Love it. I see you got your shirt off. That was definitely a Kirk. He's a Kirk. He's got he always lost his shirt. Or he had it ripped open.
That's the other thing that I loved, is that they had all of this, fan, the movies about what the fans like and everything, but they also had these characters acting like the other cast of the original series that had problems with Shatner's stardom.
Oh, absolutely.
And they really hammered that home. Grab that timer. Really hammered that home, especially in scenes like that, which I think really played well in the movie.
That's an excellent point, because we really didn't touch on that dynamic within the cast. Yeah. That they were kind of replicating that, we all knew for years that, nobody liked Shatner. A lot of, and him and Nimoy had problems, which is kind of the Lazarus character. So they were definitely replicating some of that, in the film, which was kind of funny. But I think they, in the end, they all got along.
Right.
I thought it was funny where like, look, he's got a gig. When's the next time he's going to ask us to go with him? We're going.
Yeah. And a couple of things specifically mentioned. The shirt thing, George Takei confirms. Like, yeah, that was a lot. The Gwen's line, my entire TV Guide interview was 6 paragraphs about my boobs and how they fit into my uniform. That supposedly actually happened to Jeri Ryan. In her when she was first on Voyager as 7, she wore that cat suit.
Yeah.
And there was a couple other incidents
we all really appreciated.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. A lot of this stuff was based on stuff that actually happened.
Yeah. Which is another reason why I think people like us and fans of franchises like Star Trek appreciate it as much as we do. I mean, I know that there are people who don't like Galaxy Quest who are big Star Trek fans. I personally, in my own opinion, I'm not sure why. I think it's fun, and I think it's a way to show what we all felt back then, back in, especially when the movie came out. Like I said at the beginning, it's something that you did not talk about. I mean, I had 2 things. I was a huge Michael Jackson fan growing up, and that was something you didn't talk about. And being a Star Trek fan was something you didn't talk about. So I totally appreciate it.
Not the Michael Jackson thing, the Star Trek.
Nesmith, in the very, very beginning of the movie, Nesmith overhears some unflattering things.
Yeah.
And that is supposedly a real incident that happened to Shatner.
Oh, that's interesting.
I'm asking. I actually don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't see, having met Bill a couple of times, I can't see him reacting. First of all, he never really got into the role like, he was.
No. Yeah,
they were getting fun of like these guys all think that, they're, and then the way the kids are making fun of him, that I can't see Shatner doing. He's always been very kind of, this is just a job for me. He's never gotten into the role.
Because he clearly went on. I mean, did T.J. Hooker? He did.
Yeah. He just saw it as another acting job for many, many years. I don't think he embraced Star Trek more until later. Just like Nimoy, I think, did as well. I think he was always trying to break away and then realized that this is who I am. I gotta,
I'm just looking at my notes. Here's a teeny tiny little nod. Did you guys notice Dr. Lazarus has this, and then he goes, wait, and he turns it around the other way? That's a tiny little nod to Nimoy, because Nimoy always held the tricorder, the tricorder like out to the camera. And I thought he did it on purpose, because he's like, the audience wants to see the tricorder.
Yeah, that was something I think Doug Drexler or Mike Okuda, or one of those two said that you always noticed that Nimoy would always hold the tricorder. Chekhov would hold it like you would think looking at it. But Spock would always hold it kind of facing out, because he knew that, at least in his mind, that this was for the fans. This is for the audience to see this thing, whatever it is, tricorder. This
technology.
So because he would always look at it with it facing out, which always bugged me, by the way, on the show, because I always said, why doesn't he turn it around?
Because he's so smart, he can just read it upside down.
It's kind of like you with the scraping of the thing. It's a little wiggly thing. Oh, Bruce posted, I guess, this is a quote from Will Shatner. I thought it was, I assume talking about Galaxy, I thought it was very funny, and I thought the audience that they portrayed was totally real, but the actors that they were pretending to be were totally unrecognizable.
I think he says that tongue in cheek, though.
Huh.
I think he's being facetious.
I don't know. This is just a quote, so I can't tell how he said it. Certainly, I don't know what Tim Allen was doing. He seemed to be the head of a group of actors, and for the life of me, I was trying to understand who he was imitating. The only one I recognized was the girl playing Nichelle Nichols.
Yeah, his tongue was, I think, firmly in his cheek for that comment.
I think so. Yeah, sounds like it. That's great.
So, it was funny.
Well, it is, I just want to be very respectful of Dan's time. It is 7:57, so I don't want to hold him too late. Do we have anything else we want to hit on our beloved Galaxy Quest?
I could go another hour on this film, I swear.
Unfortunately, so could I.
Yeah,
I gotta say, give me a couple of tidbits or a couple of juicy things that I'm really gonna like with the documentary, because I'm dead serious. I gotta try to talk my wife into not watching The Masked Singer, because now we're hooked on that show.
No, you need to watch the documentary.
I want to watch the documentary tonight.
You want to watch
Roxanne
it tonight?
And Harold Weir in it.
I'm sorry?
If you've all been to Star Trek Las Vegas, you've probably met Roxanne and Harold Weir. They often go just as Thermians.
Yes. Yep.
And they are so adorable. I have a picture with them. Brent Spiner's in it. Will Wheaton has and they're all favorably commenting on Brent Spiner.
good.
You know, the Geeks are in
It's
Inherit.
good.
Oh no, maybe it's Will Wheaton. The Geeks Inherit the Earth.
I watched it with my wife. She thoroughly enjoyed it. Of course, she likes the movie, and she has watched
a
Star
lot
Trek.
of behind the scenes. They talk about when the set caught fire. They talk about the gimbal. Actually, because on Star Trek they went like that. These guys had a gimbal. What else did they talk about? How it almost who they wanted besides Tim Allen.
Right, they went through all
casting.
that.
They talk a lot about the casting, which I love that stuff.
Harold Ramis,
I do too.
And actually, Harold Ramis saw the film afterwards, and
they talk a lot about Harold Ramis. Yep,
was pretty happy with he's like, that's not the direction I would have went, but it works. What you guys did.
That actually
makes me kind of glad that he didn't do it then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he didn't leave in any anger or anything. He just thought, I don't know if I understand Tim Allen's comedy enough to direct him well.
It was odd.
It was actually a very generous move on his part.
Well, he's such a phenomenal director in his own right. So he was a great loss when he died.
It was. Let me ask you this, because I'm trying to piece it together and I'm not typing on my computer to pull it up right now. When did Galaxy Quest come out in relation to Allen's time on being Toolman?
Shortly after, because
it was shortly after.
Immediately after.
Okay.
Yeah, that was 90s.
They make a point of this in the documentary that he was sort of experiencing what Jason Nesmith is experiencing. He just had fame on a show, but it ended. And Jason Nesmith had fame and it ended.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do know that there was.
I think it ended. I don't know. I'd have to look it up, but
I do know there was a time where Tim Allen thought that this was going to launch him as a star of science fiction.
Yes, he did. He's a huge sci-fi fan. He's got like Robbie the Robot and like a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh wow, that's pretty awesome. That's cool.
Stupid.
Robbie, not the Robbie.
Wow, went 8 seasons. So 99, yeah.
Okay.
It must have just ended. Yeah. He's done like the Santa Claus. Like he was probably thinking, okay, career is starting to head down now.
Stupid tidbit. I was on vacation last week. I rented a house. Apparently, Tim Allen used to rent that house regularly.
Oh,
fun.
There's probably some Easter eggs there you didn't see.
Okay.
Weird, stupid, completely pointless, but I thought I'd throw it out since we were talking about Tim Allen.
That's pretty cool.
Dan, if you have to go, can you tantalize our audience with any cool things that might be coming up in the world of the Trek Geek Podcast Network?
Well, yeah, we always got good things going on. One of the things that next week we're actually we're doing a 2-week 2 episodes over 2 weeks. And next week, we're going to start with the Cage. We're going to talk specifically about the Cage and Vina and Pike, of course.
Are you going to like compare Discovery Vina and original series Vina?
While you say that, let me just bring up my schedule here so I can give you the specifics, because I want to give you the specifics. So we're going to do specifically the Cage next week, but the week after, we're going to do specifically the Discovery episode, if memory serves. So we're going to be talking about comparisons and what we saw and everything that goes on with that. Of course, this is Voyager's 25th anniversary this year. So we're doing a whole bunch of Voyager stuff. We got a few more episodes of See It or Skip It coming up, which fans love to listen to. So we really like that. And we, of course, over my head here, you can see the poster that we made. We were supposed to do our Star Trek Trek Geeks Live. Why Star Trek Matters. Yes. It was supposed to happen this next month. Well, today it's almost in October, but we had to cancel it, of course, because of the pandemic. We hope to reschedule it. So I think what we're going to do at some point in the month of October, we may have another Trek Geeks live stream that we
please do.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get somebody like Jonathan Frakes again, but we're going to do something live because people really appreciated that. It gives folks something to do when they're stuck inside. So we're always doing stuff. It's funny. We try to do a schedule for what we're going to do for the whole year, and we bounce stuff around all the time. So a lot of Voyager. Of course, Discovery, we've got Lower Decks we're talking about right now on Discovering Trek, and Discovery starts in just a couple of weeks. So we'll be doing a weekly episode to talk about each episode of that show. So it's a great time to be a Star Trek fan, guys, isn't it?
It really is.
Awesome.
And you guys are TrekGeeks.com.
Yes, TrekGeeks.com. You can find us on Twitter. We're at Trek Geeks. Facebook, of course, Trek Geeks and Camp Kittimer.
So
great.
5 people that look at it can
follow
you.
Yeah, we will.
Bill is on Twitter. He's at Trek Geek Bill, and I am at Trek Geek Dan. It's not too difficult. So drop by, say hello.
Well, thank you
Awesome.
for joining us, and certainly
is
we'd love to
so
have you back
much.
sometime.
It is my pleasure. I had a great time, and I definitely would love to come back. So
All
just
right,
let me
well,
know.
that's a date then. We'll come up if you have a movie or film or something that you want a TV series you want to talk about. Let us
Jaws.
know. That's
Jaws?
70s, and
Jaws is my.
Roy would have to give us a
That
pass.
would be Roy. Yeah,
I'd
so
love to
we're
do Jaws, 'cause
doing,
that's
we're
one of my
attempting
favorites.
sci-fi the 80s, 90s,
Yeah, we're
and
trying.
Oh, okay.
and then
I'll
our
find something.
crewmate,
Yeah.
our
Oh, she's locked up again.
That's
our
okay.
crewmate Roy does 70s, 60s, and 50s. So.
Yeah, so-
But
That's
Jaws,
okay.
oh, I'd love to do
Jaws
Jaws.
is actually, it's funny, with all the Star Trek I have in my life, Jaws is my all-time favorite movie ever.
It is such a-
Really?
Yep.
It's almost perfect. It's a very well constructed.
yeah,
Like
it holds
the
together.
story.
You watch
It
it,
does.
and it
to this day.
it
To this
holds up.
day. And of course, we all run around going, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Please never
Exactly.
try to remake. Although one could argue that like films like The Meg are kind of remakes of Star
Yes.
Trek, but I
Yeah.
mean of Jaws. Excuse me.
Jaws.
But I don't. They're fun movies.
Nothing is Jaws except
No,
Jaws.
nothing is Jaws. It's funny
Don't
because
remake
I know
Jaws.
we've talked about this before, but my daughter, I have an 18-year-old daughter, and me and my wife, is one of our favorite movies, and she watches it, and because we're like, oh, it was so scary, 19, I didn't even see it because I was too young. See it in the theater, I didn't see it till I was a teenager. But I remember my sisters, everybody was doing. Nobody would go even a lake, let alone the ocean. that summer, and then my daughter said, it's not that scary. Why are you guys saying
Yeah,
it's
nowadays,
scary? And I'm
kids
like, yeah,
nowadays
because
are so
today's
much more
standards,
Because they're
it's not
watching
very
The Walking Dead and
Right,
stuff
exactly.
like that.
Exactly. TV shows are worse than Jaws.
All right. I'll do our little shout out here to Roy since we were just talking about.
Yeah.
So Roy's tie-dye sci-fi. Roy does sci-fi of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And he's going to be having all kinds of fun Halloween stuff all October long.
As are we.
Nice.
As are we. Yep. This Sunday, he's actually going to be speaking with Space 1999 actress Yasuko Nagazumi, who has actually gone on to become like an amazing producer and manager of like high-end print advertisements for like Gucci and Armani and stuff like that. And then that's Sunday. And then this Friday, with his usual Friday co-host Ross Miko, they're going to be doing 1975's Trilogy of Terror, if you guys remember that. So if you're into any of the sci-fi of the older years, that's the show to watch, and we'll put a
Good
link
one.
on our Facebook page. And Rizzo, can you tell the fans what we have on deck?
Who are you going to call? We're going to do Ghostbusters, and Ken Schmidt's going to come back and visit us again.
Dogs and cats.
Hockey and
living
dogs and
together.
cats living together. Mass hysteria.
And a special cameo by Ron Jeremy. Sorry.
Special
Yeah, so,
cameo by that Harry
So join
Lewis.
us, and then we have a lineup coming up for the rest of the month. Of course, being Halloween.
Halloween, we'll do some
sci-fi,
scary.
scary, sort of. We don't know how scary it's going to be.
Awesome.
Feel free to wear your costumes, though.
Oh,
Absolutely.
okay.
Watching costume.
Watching.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was a lot
All
of
right.
fun. I
Thank you
really
for being
appreciate
here.
it.
Once again, and as we always say, live long and prosper. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.